October 9th, 2012, a Tuesday afternoon in New Jersey. At practice leading up to a Week 5 matchup against Brown, Tigers head football coach Bob Surace knew something wasn't right with Khamal Brown.
It was really early in practice. We were doing, just a walkthrough. We hadn't even stretched or done anything that would be significant in terms of, doing football, just going through some basic things. And I saw Mandela Schaefer escort him over to Dr. Patukian.
We're just sitting there doing special teams kickoff, doing run through kickoff takeoffs, and I'm behind the group taking a knee, talking with Tom Moak, and Khamal comes up and he's talking to us too. And then we look and Khamal's crying, and we're like, Khamal, what's wrong? He's like, what are you talking about? And we're like, you're crying, Khamal. What's going on? And he's like, I'm crying, and he wipes his face. He's like, why am I crying?
We go through what they call the Maddox questions, ask him about date, day, time of day, etc. Asking him questions about the game on this past Saturday. He didn't remember anything from the game. He didn't know who we played, didn't remember won or lost. So he really struggled with those kinds of questions. That's when we knew we had a significant problem, and at minimum he needed to go to the hospital. But I don't think there was any point, even to the point when we put him in the ambulance, that we thought he had what we found out was really the problem.
That night, at a trauma center, Khamal underwent an emergency procedure to drain fluid from his skull. 4 days later, he had surgery.
Basically, I was born with this abnormal formation of blood vessels in my head, and the amount of pressure built up and burst, and then pressure from that bleeding caused a headache, and went from there.
I probably didn't sleep for about 2 weeks, just thinking about what would have happened if he had been somewhere else on campus, and to nobody's fault, he could have passed away just because it wasn't recognized as a problem.
There was parts of hospital visits that I don't remember at all. People from back home that visited, people from up here that visited that I don't remember.
You go visit him Thursday, and you go visit him, Friday, and he's more alert, and he's go get this game, coach, and you hear about him in the hospital screaming and yelling as he's watching the game on an iPad or whatever it was, and listening to the radio. Then the next week, you know how much he cares about his teammates and puts his teammates before himself, and that's something that Khamal's all about.
As he recovered, Khamal wasn't able to play in 2013. Still, that didn't stop the Atlanta native from making an impact for the Tigers.
He was no different than any of the guys. He came to every meeting, paid attention to everything. When he was on the field at practice, he was like my assistant.
He was Coach Brown that year. He was an assistant, I guess, with the DBs in a sense. But he did everything with us. The only thing he didn't do was put the pads on. I mean, he was lifting with us. He came to all the meetings, every trip.
Just to see him out there every day, working with the young defensive backs, grabbing a James Gales or whoever it is, and working with them. And he really became Jim Salgado's right-hand man.
And Brown's defensive coordinator believes that new perspective helped Khamal once he got back on the field.
To be able to be up top and to physically see it from above, compared to just playing and then going in on Sunday and watching the tape, I think it helped him tremendously.
After sitting out 2013, Khamal returned to the field last fall, which is enough to make this a feel-good story. This year, though, Brown has not only moved back into the starting lineup at a new position, safety, he's been one of the anchors of the Princeton defense.
Tigers bringing pressure off the corner. Shipfinski, the underneath route, and it's picked off. Khamal Brown has it for Princeton.
He was a little rusty last year as he came back, and it wasn't perfect, but he kept fighting. He's playing at such a high level right now and been such a consistent player for our defense. He's really given us something back in the secondary we haven't had very often.
There's not a tougher kid on our football team. When I went to see him that night in the hospital, and then to see where he's at, there was never a doubt in his mind that he was coming back. That part to me was, showed me that, hey, this kid's special.
He's always had such a good head on his shoulders, but I'm sure, when you're hit with that type of adversity, this isn't I lost my starting job adversity, or I got a D on a test adversity. This was, if certain things weren't right, this could have been a tragedy. And I think knowing you have this second chance to play football, to be a student at Princeton, to go on and have a career and do all those things, I think that there's a maturity that comes with that maybe not every young person who comes to college has.
It's an incredible story. I mean, from what he had to battle through, what he had to overcome. There was a time where we didn't know if he was even going to play.
Khamal has never had a bad day. Even to this day, he would probably tell you he's never had a bad day.
I don't think about it at all. I'm just thinking about this meeting that I have in 45 minutes, and every week just get better. That's the goal.
Everything he did, from having to take the rest of his sophomore year off to coming back, being Coach Brown, and then being clear for the spring and being able to play last year. It was an incredible story. It was very empowering. It was great to see him, like I said, overcome adversity like that and come out on the other side, stronger than he was before.
For GoPrincetonTigers.com, I'm Cody Cruciel.